Right guys, it seems every day goes by I feel more and more sick for making videos defending our police farce. We all remember months ago when most of us sided with the police against the virtue signalling lunatics performing mostly peaceful protests in central London, despite the so-called issues at hand having nothing to do with the UK at all. Now I am starting to feel the same way about the police as I do about the BLM losers they bent the knee to.
What do you want? When do you want it?
As most of you will know, they are a complete joke at this point, whether it be the two-tier policing, shoving veterans, or as we see yesterday and today, old women being carted off by the police and our piss-poor government. They either don't like what she is saying, or they don't like the fact that she's not hiding in her home, scared by the fear-mongering and coercive control methods that they are using. Political dissent is no longer acceptable in the UK. Boris Johnson has gone full communist China on us. A bit like Biden, I guess Boris openly answers to Beijing now. The police here are certainly heading towards the communist style of policing, because they are certainly not policing by consent. We the people do not consent to this bullshit. And as I've said before, when the majority of the public turn on the police, there will be a rude awakening for these idiots who think it's a good idea to use that badge as an excuse to mistreat the public. But once again, a Tory MP, Charles Walker, has come out in defence of freedom from police and government tyranny, having witnessed the 72-year-old lady being carried off spread eagle by 4 members of Boris Johnson's brown shirt tosspots that we used to call the Metropolitan Police. He called them a disgrace and stood in the House of Commons calling out the Prime Minister for sanctioning this lunacy, demanding they come to the House and sort this shit show out. Obviously, it did not happen because as I am making this video, I have just seen a stream from Tyrant Finder UK showing a woman being arrested outside Parliament. Apparently this time, it was for not giving her name to these snivelling shitweasel coppers, and unconfirmed reports also that YouTuber Subject Access has been arrested in central London earlier today. But if I am honest, Boris Johnson was never going to put an end to it like Charles Walker and many others demand. He needs it to continue because the House of Cards could come falling down at any point with how blatant their lies are. It has been called out constantly, and the only thing saving them right now is the brought and paid for mainstream media who could end this shit show today, like they did with the swine flu con. Until then though, the odd politician calling it out is the best we have. This country is fast approaching third world tin pot nation status in regards to the way it's being governed. Charles Walker and a few other MPs are standing up to it at least. More of the public is also turning against the lunacy we are seeing, but that is slow going. Luckily, from people I have spoken to in my personal life, they all agree with us and will be against everything the government tries to force upon us. Progress is being made slowly it seems, but here is the clip from yesterday where Charles Walker made a point of order in the House of Commons, as I said, calling out the disgraceful police force and his own worthless government.
Point of order to Charles Walker.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I have just witnessed an elderly lady peacefully protesting with a handful of other people be arrested and carried spread eagle to a police van just outside the precinct of the House of Commons. This is a disgrace. This is un-British. It is unconstitutional. And this government, our Prime Minister, needs to end these injustices now. Madam Deputy Speaker, will you bring the Prime Minister and or the Home Secretary here today to sort this out? She was an old lady robbed of her dignity for having the courage to protest about having her fundamental rights and those of my constituents and others removed.
Well, I thank the honourable gentleman for his point of order. I can see that this is obviously an extremely distressing situation. I shall, of course, ensure that the Speaker is aware of the honourable gentleman's comments, but I also know that we have ministers here who I'm sure will ensure that his comments are fed back and his very strong views on the incident that happened. Thank you.
Well, as you can tell, that was one of the most mealy-mouthed responses by the Deputy Speaker there. I really don't know what she thinks she's doing. She has obviously the power to call the government in to answer these questions. She is choosing not to, obviously, because she supports everything they're doing. Like I said, we have no opposition, we have no real government now. It's like a one-party state. But well done to Charles Walker for calling this bullshit out once again. There are still a few decent MPs left in there who will at least stand up for our freedoms. Usually you would have the Labour Party going against the government, which would make it easy to keep them under control. But as it stands, the Labour Party are neck deep in it with the Tories at the moment. As I've said before, two cheeks of the same shit-cupboard arsehole. But you heard it there, they are literally taking apart our constitutional rights as it stands. We are going to have to stand up to this shit and put a stop to it. Boris Johnson clearly won't, he has an agenda to push.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires, and that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going, and we are glad to be going. We're off.